Okay, g'day everybody. It's 26th of January. It's Sunday. I hope you're having a great weekend and all that sort of stuff. And it's really middle of winter weather here at the moment, blowing the proverbial. Well, we said blowing the tips. Anyway, that's another story. It's very windy out there, really cold, big seas. 2-3 meters out there off the entrance, and a couple of Vendée boats coming in that cannot get in. So that's kind of interesting. The weather's rubbish at the moment, and it's certainly disappointing for the sailors. The first boat was it's arriving right about now, and by the time the harbour is only, or the entrance to the river here in the Leaderboard is only open until 5 o'clock. Is in an hour away, but there's quite a sea running, and the sea heaps up when it comes over a bit of a bar right at the entrance and stuff. So the long and the short of it is, when he gets here, they cross the finish line, which is quite a bit offshore, and then I'm not sure whether some of the crew, some of their team, are going to go out on a big rib and try and get on board, but they will then head across to La Rochelle, which is a few hours away, and there's a big harbour, easy harbour they can enter and go from there. And then about 4 hours later, Clarice Kramer, one of the, I'd say, the most popular women in the Vendée, is due to cross the line, and she'll be even a worse situation because it's night time and it's still blowing and still a sea running. So the harbour's not open at that stage anyway. So she'll have to turn around and head up to La Rochelle as well, and the media will be quite keen to grab her. So they might go up and meet her up there, I'd imagine tomorrow, something like that. All kind of interesting. So not the best time to be arriving in Les Sables d'Olonne, but our guys are doing okay, and I'll talk about two of the interesting bits of information we had. One's Holiday Dan, just sort of contemplating where he's at and what he's doing and all those sorts of issues. And John, of course, you've probably seen both of the posts referring to those issues. John's had some challenges, and we'll talk about that a little bit as well. And I've also got the rowers there, the world's toughest row, the guys and girls that are rowing across the Atlantic right now. It looks like the fleet will be catching up to them in the next day or so. So they'll have to watch out for that. We'll probably tell them, say, just remember there's boats out there, but they already know that. And the rowing boats also, whilst they've got limited power and so on, well, in fact, they're really quite sophisticated. We'll talk about that. They also have AIS and so on, so there shouldn't be any interaction, even though it's the middle of the night. And by comparison, our guys are screaming along. If you're doing 5, 6, 7 knots, most of the rowing boats, well, even that's subjective because they can get blown along quite fast. Anyway, we'll talk about that shortly. So for now, we'll go straight to our tracker, and our tracker is this one here. That's interesting. That should be our tracker there. Yes, it is. And I'll go on to this one here. So now, if everything's happening correctly, you will be seeing our tracker. And I get a smaller screen because I've got this share. That's cool. All right, so all's well. That's trundling along, and everyone's safe and happy and so on. Some are working harder than others. Some just to go fast, others just to relax and stay safe. So plenty going on. And if we come to the rear end of the fleet, but before we do that, I think I'll just go through the weather again, the same as we usually do, just to see and get a feeling for what's happening in the next 2 days. And it's, as we've said in the past, pretty much more of the same. Fantastic trade winds there, not too much of the yellow now, so it's sort of around 25 knots. Sea is still large. It's around 3 meters, 3.5 meters, maybe occasionally 4. Tops will be breaking, so every now and then the boat will get slapped, but it's reasonably safe. This is where the skippers generally shouldn't be too anxious about too much, and able to put the pressure on if they are that way inclined. And that's pretty much the same. And look how close Antigua is. Antigua's right there. And if we look at Renaud, he's now less than 1,000 miles from the finish, so that's less than 10 days, probably 9 days. And it's going to be early. Anyway, they're making great time. So we'll just push the weather through now and see how that goes. If I just keep hitting this through, we'll slowly see a little bit more yellow turning up, but still pretty much the same. There we are into tomorrow morning. Yes, picking up a little bit, sort of, but it's borderline. So there goes the 27th. That's 1 day from now, 24 hours from now. And then, yes, picking up a bit more on the 28th. So, yeah, there's a little bit of a puff coming, but nothing like what we were thinking previously. And then it starts to die off. You can see here, 28th, it's only 2 days. So by the end of day after tomorrow, it should get very pleasant indeed. And I'm hoping they go slower for a bit so we can be there when they arrive. But we'll have to wait and see. So I'll keep running it through. There's 29, a little bit softer. And then if we go through to the 30th, it starts to pick up again. So it's about the same. So it's the 30th is down. There's 2 days going slower. 31st, it's getting softer again. You can actually start to detect some blue in here. So that's probably only around 15 knots, maybe less than that. So they will be going slow. How long on the 30th of that? 31st. I'm doing this to give me a better understanding of the ETAs when we go to the leaderboard as well. So by the time we get to the 1st, it's starting to pick up again. And so you're back to it. So you've only got 3 days to think about. So we'll kick that back into the equation in a minute when we're looking at their speeds and what they're actually doing. So I'll pick that up a bit bigger so you can see that. Put the snail trails on so that they're distinct snail trails to see what they've been steering. And here we go. Okay, so Popeye looks like he's heading up towards New York again now. Not sure why you'd do that. You know, it's kind of interesting because you've always got to remember when you're 1,000 miles away, anytime you're not sailing towards the mark, you're losing a bit of ground. And the mark is absolutely down this direction now, so it's probably 40 degrees off the mark. But that's Popeye for you. 4.3 knots, 108 mile day in the last 24 hours. That's okay. You know, we're getting there. We plan on 100, as you know. And Jasmine, 4.4 knots again, 109 mile day. It's okay. She's heading in exactly the right direction and a reasonably straight course, so that's good. She's in the groove. BB, Jacob, 5.2, and I can push this up a bit here so I can see their 24-hour run, 117 miles. Yeah, that's where it should be. Should be close enough to 120 to the top end because there's plenty of breeze there. Anything less than that, well, 100 to 120 is the target. I've mentioned that often, actually. So, Dan the Man, Immortal Game, still a little bit too low here. Get it up there. Okay, 117 mile day, same as Jacob. 4.9 knots. He's making good progress and settled in well and truly. And we'll talk about his posts later on. John, he's got all the dramas, but he's still pushing out there at 117 mile days. 117 seems to be the figure of the moment, and he'll be happy to be getting that. But he's going to have to be careful with maintenance issues now with the rig that he's got up, but we'll talk about that in a sec. Little Ren, we've got a volunteer for the social media, which I'll pass to Kerry shortly, so he'll be happy to know that. And making 4.8 knots, 110 mile day, and not as fast as he had been. He's doing a little bit faster than the previous hours, but in some parts of this, the wind may go soft. You know, the local conditions may not be up around 25. You know, it could be a little bit less than that, but sea's still there. Sea's driven by that stuff up the top. Go dipping down fast by the look of it, and again, not heading for the run line, but still doing okay. 5.2 knots and 119 mile day, all very good. Peter Punk, keen to catch up over there and putting some pressure on, because you're now, the guys in the front are all pushing higher daily averages. She was actually in the 30s previously, the previous 4-hour run. I think she was in 131 or 132.3 or something like that, but still heaping it on, and possibly a little bit less breeze up on the north compared to the guys down the south. So obviously working hard. She wants that. She wants to be right up the front. Little B, 5.8, 135 mile day. That's pretty impressive for a guy who might still have a little bit of a niggling back. And again, he's got ambitions for the MGR, and so this is important. Biggest Monkey, this is his day. This is his event. He wants a 130-mile day, 5.3, and he knows they're just up the front for sure. And so he's running out of time options now because he's exactly, if I come up here and get the ruler from the leader, biggest monkey is currently near enough to 87 miles. And you could say he's got 8-9 days. He's got to make 10 miles a day if everything stays the same in terms of no problems on the boat. So Renaud doesn't make a problem that slows him down, and Kerry's the same, and Biggest Monkey's the same. He's got to literally pull 10 miles a day, which is nearly, not quite, but say just under half a knot average higher all the time. It's going to be a big ask, but he's giving it a go. And as I say, usually the best way to make ground on this is when someone else makes a mistake. And what that tells you is don't make a mistake. If you're waiting for the other guys to make a mistake, you got to make sure that you don't make one at the same time. So Biggest Monkey's keen to be there. Origami, can't read him. Here he comes. Origami, Kerry, 5.7 knots, 134-mile day. So 134 compared to 130. So he's pulled away another 4 miles. Previously, Biggest Monkey had been gaining on the 2 leaders, but now it's reversed a bit. And Renaud, 5.8, 136-mile day. So he's basically earning his spot up the front there with consistently higher average speeds over 24 hours and holding the line on his position. So he deserves to be there and still cooking fancy meals and doing all that sort of stuff. Look forward to finding out the real story later on. Half the fleet's going to make a phone call tomorrow to Graham, and then we'll get the inside running on that as well. So for now, you can see what's going on. Distance to the finish for Renaud, 976, 995 for Origami. So 18 miles, 19 miles behind, I think, something like that. And then 995 compared to 1,064 to Biggest Monkey. So that's near enough 70 miles, about 70 miles behind there. So that's actually closer than what I was measuring out there, but that's how it works with the numbers. Not too many glitches at the moment. Little B, 1,090 to go, so he's a couple hundred miles behind the leader. And ETAs are suggesting here, where do we go? Okay, Origami, the third, jeepers, and the fourth. I don't know whether they can keep that because they'll go a little bit slower, but it's still, even with those 2 to 3 days of lighter winds, they're only going to be, they'll still be down in the high teens, like 110, 115 and so on. So it's only 20, 30, 40. They're not going to make up a day. So yep, it's looking very much like the first boats are going to come in sometime early on the 4th. That's my take on that lot. And the others are all coming in, within a day or two after that. So that's kind of interesting. I don't think I can tell you much more here on the tracker. We'll just check the sea state to see if it is changing, because the swells can calm down when they go through the center of that high. In fact, I'll just show you what the weather's doing overall here. So you can see there's a big blow up the top here. Ireland got hammered. It's still pretty ferocious. But down this part of the world, the Azores High that's here, squashed Azores High. It's doing all the usual things, so there's nothing really dramatic. But some of the swells may get pushed out with this, so maybe the sea has died off a little bit. We'll just about to see. Push that up there. Drop this down here. Here we go for waves. Well, as you can see, it's dropping back across here. And in fact, maybe that's where Popeye's going. But see this line here? You can actually clearly see that. There's these transition lines. They're not necessarily the currents. Let's have a look here. No, it's all pretty straightforward. It's actually just the waves. They're predicting some confused seas, and surprisingly, that's what can happen here. So you can see there's a real distinct band going across here where the various swells coming from various directions interact. Certainly is dropping off. This is 1.5 meters, 2 meters coming into 3 and a bit. So if we just push this forward, let's see if the sea, I think they might be lucky here. They might be come through the 28. Oh no, it's still holding. Just come through a bit more. It's getting a bit softer on 30, 31, so it's going to die off a little bit as they get closer. That's pretty cool for them. Oh yeah, that's nice. They will enjoy the ride. They're only going to get a few days of it, but they will. When that wind backs off, the sea's going to die down as well. And as they get closer, there's a couple of current streams there that could help them. Certainly not going to be a negative for them. So, okay, that's that one. So I think I'll just go straight to the. I've got to do it via the YB here. I'll go straight to the world's toughest row boats compared to our own boats, and let's just see what's going on. So while it's fresh in our mind. So you should have the rowboats and everything here. So all of these yellow boats here are the rowboats, okay, from the world's toughest row. And these little green ones are hangovers from the Rorke race, the Royal Ocean Racing Club, that left Lanzarote at the same time. So our little boats have been doing pretty well to keep up, because this guy maybe got a late start. It's a 2-tonner. It's a big boat, and our fleet's not far behind, and they left a day after. So anyway, maybe he stopped somewhere and had an issue. There's another little boat down here, Rock and Roll. That's an Owen Clark, is it? No, 40 Clark. No, I don't know. Not that it really matters for us. It's a big boat, Swan 78, going very slow. Interesting. Okay, so they're just other monohulls. Okay, Etienne got in really well. Etienne being the guy who won the 2021 Transatlantic in a 580, and he just went across in a big cat, trimaran rather, and got in after about 11 and a half days. So these yellow ones are the rowboats, and you can see this is our boats. There's Renaud there, and here's Origami. So they're slowly catching up, and if we enlarge this, we can see exactly. I can measure it off. In fact, these are going to be right in the way. So they're about 140 miles behind, and this rowboat here is making 2.5 knots, and this one's making 2.5, so they're both trundling along. So if our guys are making, say, 5 knots, that means they're gaining on them at 2.5 knots, and they're 143 miles a day. 2.5 knots is only 50, 60, 65, 70 miles, so 2 days. So within the next couple of days, 2 days or so, they could be starting to get close to these guys at the back end of the fleet. And then as they get going, excuse me, then in 2-2, some of them are single-handed, some are two-handed, and some have got 3. It's a D12, but they don't say how many people are rowing. Rannick 25. Oh, it's solo. One picture of one sailor. That's a twin. Okay, so that's how you tell. Okay, so that's a twin. These ones down here, that's a twin. So it's a Rannick 25 again, and this one's a Rannick 25 solo. Jazzy. So anyway, I'll let them know what's going on if they look as if they're getting close, because they might want to say good day. Take some photos, and that could be fun. But Renault's looking like he's heading straight for him, so that'd be fun. I'll make sure he knows. So there you go. They go into English Harbour in Antigua, and quite a lot of fun. It's a really popular event. If you wanted to do this row, you would have to put your name on a wait list. I think it's 2 years. They run this event every year, and it's booked up for the next 2 years. And there's opportunities to join a team. It costs you about £15,000 or something thereabouts to sign on with a 4-person boat. You'll kick the can and you can row yourself across the Atlantic, but I don't know whether I'd enjoy being with 4 others. I don't know. And so if there's 4 on a boat, they have 3 will be rowing and 1 will be resting, and they just rotate. So they're rowing 24 hours a day, and or you can do your own solo boats. The entry fee for these is about £15,000 to put a boat in. So if you had I think that's right. If you had a solo boat or something like that, £15. Ours is really €1,200 for a 580 to go across, and they get 15 grand or thereabouts. Maybe that's for a twin or whatever. Anyway, that'll all change, because we're heavily supporting the 580s at the moment, because that's what we want to do. It's all kind of fun. They actually had Talisker as their major title partner. They supported us across the Pacific, but now Talisker, after many years, have decided they'd go and do something else, so they don't have a title partner for the event, which is part of the course. Neither does Rourke, actually, for the fully crewed yacht race. They don't have a partner either for them. And neither does the Globe 580 Transat. We don't have a partner either. So we have Alma supporting the class, but that's it. That's very good. We're happy to have them on board. Okay, that's enough of that. I'll come back here now and answer some of the questions. It's a Sunday. You're probably all out having Sunday roast dinner somewhere, or finished, or kicking back watching TV out of the rain and the wind. I'm not sure. It's pretty interesting here right now. Okay. G'day, John. Thanks for being here, everyone. Oh, that's okay, Jane. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad you're enjoying. Sebastian. G'day, Sebastian. Good day, folks. Today, happy birthday, Nikki. Oh, yeah. Sexy wife. I say that with respect because that's what Dan always talks about, his sexy wife, and it's written on the boat and everything. And Nikki's a good sport and a lot of fun. And so I hope you're having a great day, Nikki. And that brings up the post, of Dan. There's a very, how would you describe it? Obviously, he's missed. I think it's fair and reasonable to say we can discuss this because Dan put it up as a post on Nikki's birthday, feeling a bit emotional, obviously, missing family and friends, all those sorts of things. And he basically put it out there, some of his emotions that he's been going through, and it's very common. I put a comment on top of that, talking about how really all of these solo around the world races and the OGR as well, it's all about headspace. It's not about the boat, it's not about the money, and it's not about the preparation, everything like that. That all goes by the wayside if you're not there psychologically and you're not really passionate and you absolutely want to be there. There are so many reasons to give up. It's just unbelievable. And I see it. And it's not, I won't, the Golden Globe is really a race of attrition. And it's one of the toughest mind games, most brutal and ugliest thing you could ever conceive for a solo sailor. It doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't get any uglier for a solo sailor in sense of a challenge to do the GGR, right? The MGR is a huge challenge, and Dan is in the midst of that at the moment. And like most of the entrants, it involves family and friends and in different capacities and different directions. And all of the entrants that do any of these races, including the OGR, in a lot of the crew in the OGR, they all have self-doubt. They wonder what the heck they're doing there. They wonder why the hell are we spending all this money and sacrifice, and why am I being so selfish when it's all about me, and you're out there doing it. But that's what it is. It's never changes. And when you put yourself up against the wall, you've got to go through that roller coaster ride, and everyone goes through it. And it's always interesting when someone decides that they want to put it out there and show people what it all means and what it's about. And it's always a good opportunity because I can just about guarantee every entrant in the MGR has questioned, in the Transat even, has questioned why they're doing this, and they won't like a lot of it. It's really tough, when you're out there. But the good news is at that point, you very rarely have an opportunity to actually get off. You can't just step off and go and watch TV at home. It's not like that. You've got to take it to the end game or some sort of a conclusion so you can at least get off. And by the time you've done that, you realize all of a sudden the benefits and the essence of why you're doing it start to gel. And you might not get the answer of why you've done it, but you really do understand what you've just achieved. And it's like when you've been studying for 6, 7, 8 years or something, and you finally do your exam and you think, holy shit, fantastic, it's all over, right? Was it worth it? Sure it was, because it's an incredible feeling when you get there. So Dan's post was very poignant in a few different ways. And it's always good to see that. And a lot of people go into it. A lot of this stuff, when you decide to take on a big challenge, you take a deep breath and you swallow hard and you think, oh, shit. And you drive yourself through all these little walls, even to the point of, shall I do it? Shan't I do it? Shall I? Shan't I? Yes, I'm going to do it. Gulp. That's your first one. The next one is, oh, what boat am I going to use? Oh, this one's, oh, okay, I think it's that one. And you just keep going. And at the conclusion, the physical side of it and the actual act of sailing solo around the world, the most relevant thing that happened to me when I managed to complete that in the BOC was that people would often, I can remember getting back to Australia, and you could see you walk into a yacht club or something, and people would look at you and say, "Oh, that's Don McIntyre." He just sailed around the world or whatever it is, and you feel completely the same. You feel completely normal. And I used to get a bit of an imposter syndrome on that situation because it's sort of like, well, hey, and I was challenged because I always felt it wasn't such a big deal. Now, when you say it's not such a big deal, that comes from the fact that when you're doing it, it doesn't matter what boat you're using, no one day is bigger than the next, right? And it's like this whole series of day sails. You just go out on a Monday and you just, instead of coming back to the club and having a hot shower and going home, you just keep going. So you're there Monday night, you're there Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday night, and you just keep going. And they all join together. And before you know it, you've got around the world. So when they say, oh, wow, and you're sort of like, well, you don't want to belittle the experience because you've done it. But I always felt, well, it wasn't that bad. It's sort of a bit of a funny. And anyone that's seen the film that I did of my BOC back in 1990, it's called McIntyre Knockdown. And it's on YouTube. It's free. Just see it. It was always this sort of feeling where it was really exciting. I had my down moments like everyone else, but it's a big mix, and it all comes back to the fact that I know why I did it now, and I think some of you will have known what I've said about it. It happened to me when I finally did the Transat in Tracker, my little 580. Halfway across on the trip, I realised why I'd been doing all these adventures for a big chunk of my life. It's because I wanted to prove something to myself, and I have no doubt that if Dan hasn't tweaked to it, he like most other entrants there, they're actually trying to prove something to themselves, and to do that you sacrifice a lot, but that's part of achieving what you set out to do. So that throwaway line where everyone's a winner, they get to the start line, doesn't matter whether you finish or not, is completely true, because whatever the outcome, you've sorted it out for yourself. You've been through all these stages, and there it is. Anyway, enough of that. But that was, just in reference to Dan, Holiday Dan's very interesting post. I thought it was quite cool. Okay, so anyway, have a good birthday, Nikki. I digress. Okay, so Christine's still trotting around. Christine's retired and travelling, and she's following the whole of she's been with us as a volunteer in the OGR into the ports, and Christine's on a big holiday, so she's coming into Antigua, and she's coming into Panama, and she's coming into Fiji, and just using it as a focus for travelling. So, and on those times, she'll give us a hand as a volunteer whenever we need it. Hey, Mike. Hey, Jan. John, how does the rule distance to the finish compared to that in the leaderboard says? Close enough or very different? They're usually close enough, but it can be a little bit different, although now the run line is pretty straight. So I did that the other day, and and there was a little bit of difference. So next tracker update that we do, we'll measure it off and just see how it looks. But they're close enough for sure. Christine, Don, if we like, love, hug, laugh, etc., does that give you more points? Sure does. Any time you give me a hug, I feel really good. But on the social media, yes, the more emotions you get, emotions being the like, dislike, shock, horror, laugh, every emotion you get, the algorithm picks up that people are interested enough to make that choice. And every comment we get, if we do a post, and sometimes we do a post and we get bombed with comments, on the GGR, some of our bigger events. If there's something happening, we'll get hundreds and hundreds of comments. That's a good thing for the algorithm, because it says, oh, they're interested in what's going on here. So the biggest one though is liking the site. So if you haven't liked our Facebook page, please like it. Anytime you share a post, it's good for the algorithm. And if you're on YouTube, if you can subscribe, that's even better. And all those things really help us get it out there. So so that's kind of cool. Thanks, Christine. You do all that. Just keep liking it, sharing it, doing what you like, and the algorithm will see your name and probably send you a letter and say thanks. The Journey of Shark. G'day. Any news on sponsorship for Pila to allow her to do the MGR? No, not yet. But they have tidied up a lot of their paperwork. They had some challenges for their registration, but it's now been sorted, which is great news, because The Spanish have a different format for getting ships' papers, like their passport, and they've been working overtime to get that done, and it's all done. So she'll be able to get in there, and hopefully she'll have the Spinnaker waiting for her, and hopefully she'll have enough funds to carry on. She's paid the entry fee and everything, so everything's all set to go. She's got all the safety gear on board, so she's set to go. It really comes down to the money to get around the world, because they still have to pay for all their food, the berthing, if there's berthing involved in different places. They're really an independent voyager, because our entry fees are at the moment, they're about €3,500 to go around the world. But we don't cover berthing everywhere. Like Vuda Marina, they're amazing hosts in Fiji. Stand by for Fiji; it's going to be a lot of fun. And Vuda Marina is one of the best marinas in the Pacific. It's just a great place, and I say that with all honesty, not just because they're our partners. We've known them for a long time, and that's how we got the partnership together. We had our boats there for years and years. It's a fantastic place. So that they cover berthing there, and that's about it. We haven't sorted out Cape Town yet, exactly what's going to happen there. Recife, we're just talking to Recife. They're going to be great. That'll be covered, and more about that later. But other little places, they've got some small berthing charges, and food, and travel for their partners and stuff. So little costs along the way. So yes. Okay, Lauren, Dan seems to be hard on the sleeve type. Yeah, absolutely, and he's got a great book too. If you want to learn all about Dan, you could contact Nikki, and she'll happily sell you a book. I think maybe it's out of print now. They've got to do another print. I can't remember. And they can mail it to you. It's quite an interesting read. He's done a lot of crazy stuff in the past. Regarding the importance of weight, what would be the actual variance in weight in the fleet? For example, what would the difference be between, say, the lightest boat and the heaviest boat? That's a good point, Cleverton. I reckon my take on that would be probably as much as okay, so I'm 90 kilos, so there's probably at least two of me. So maybe a couple of 100 kilos. There could be the difference there of, would it be a couple of hundred? Yeah, it could be a couple of 100 kilos different between the light, the ones that are really focused on saving weight, to the ones that are there. But bearing in mind, generally, I mean, the guys that are going around in the MGR, it's probably a good idea to have some sort of little boat, little paddle boat. Some are taking stand-up paddle boards. Some have got little cheap blow-up boat, stuff like that. A lot more spares. Some have got spare sails. There's some have got two anchors, just in case, because we only require one, but recommend two. And so it goes. Some people are carrying food. In fact, quite a few of them are carrying food to get them all the way through to Tahiti. So there's a fair bit of excess there on some of it. So it varies, but I'd think it could be as much as a couple 100 kilos. So anyway, John, how many days was your bounty boat cruise compared to the Transat days? It was much longer. The Transat for me was 28 days, and bounty boat was 48 days. And we had now I've got to think about this. The stopovers. So we had to stop for some damage in Fiji for a day and a bit, and then we stopped at jeepers, I've got the name now. Preservation Island, in the Barrier Reef, where bounty boat crew came through Bligh Pass on the Great Barrier Reef, and then Restoration Island. That's right. They stayed for 3 days and 2 nights and cooked up, caught birds and ate them and stuff. And we did similar stuff, but we had frozen chickens waiting for us, and cooked the same amount of stuff because we were starving. We had virtually no food. I lost 18 kilos, and so we stopped there for 3 days, exactly the same as them, but we couldn't kill the birds, so we still had the thing on the beach. And anyway, lots of funny stories, lots of good stories, and then carried on. And Bligh beat us by about 6 hours, if I remember rightly. It's a great story. I forget some of it now. It was that long ago, and I was always threatened to write a book. We've got a documentary on it that's sort of 3/4 finished, but we've never finished it over the last 10 years. I'll have to do that one day. Anyway, that was kind of fun, but it was a cool boat as well. Anyway, okay. How many boat was a boat? Okay, Kaylee, how do I view multiple races at once with the YB? Well, you can't, unfortunately. Like the map that the track that I just showed you then is something that YB do specifically for the organisers, because there's 3 events all running together. They combine them specifically for us to make sure we all know where everyone else is, so there's no interaction, or if something happens, we know where they are, and so on. So it's a special that YB do for us. So sadly, I can't. That don't do it. You got to just go for the events. But that's an interesting point, though, eh? It could be something that because I know, it's an interesting point. I might tell them, I say, hey, you might find it interesting. Oh, but it gets complicated because we don't get all of the information from the other fleets on there. Like we don't get the different colours and so on. It's just the same, but we can call it up. But it might be something that they could offer in the future, which might be interesting for followers to be able to have something that could combine it. It wouldn't be available on the apps because it's just too complicated. But on the PC version, maybe they could. It's interesting. I don't know. I'm just talking loud there. Okay. Yeah, so that's a special for us. I saw the film. It was really good. Oh, I wonder which film. That one. Knockdown, my film. Yeah, McIntyre Knockdown. Yeah, it was groundbreaking at the time, actually, because no one had ever done anything like that. I had 3 cameras mounted outside the boat, up the mast, on the back, and the one up the mast I could tilt it, and then I had handhelds, and I had wireless transmitting microphones, and I had the, they were coming to a little TV down below, and I could swap things over. So it actually was the biggest selling marine video in America for about 4 months, I think, 4 or 5 months. And I made a lot of money with it because I didn't do it to make money, but I made a lot of money in Australia. I used to sell it for $55 or $65 Australian, and it cost them $15 at the time. And I sold 1,200 in the first, 6 months through the boat shows and stuff. Anyway, that's another story, but it was, it's quite a... Oh, and then the Whitbread race back then, were using it as a training aid to show their cameramen on how they should do things and, what should be done. Anyway, it was a fun film, for sure. Does anyone know how many people have sailed solo around the world? Oh, I certainly do. Oh, a big plug for the International Association of Cape Horners. It started off, and in fact, there's a whole history of that. The first guy that started putting it together was an amazing guy called Nobby Clark, and I bought his book back in the early 70s. He produced a book, and it started to list all the bits. And he wrote about many of the crazy guys, like Japanese in bloody 19-footer that sail around Cape Horn and around the world, and just some incredible stories. So Nobby was the official record keeper of people doing the solo trips around the world. And I actually got to meet him. It was in 1984. We had lunch in a pub in England. It was incredible to meet the guy and talk about all this stuff. Anyway, moving right ahead, in the end, Nobby passed away. He had an amazing guy, lots of interesting history of the war. He was a flyer and lots of stuff. Anyway, and Sir Robin Knox Johnston then took it on himself because he was heavily involved. He was the overall chairman of the BOC races for the first 5 years or so, for 5 editions when it happened, and then his company Cripper bought the BOC and turned it into the Five Oceans race, and there was a lot of other things going on, and everyone knows, Sir Robin was the first to get around solo non-stop, so he started keeping the records. And then there was an organisation called the Cape Horners Association, and it was just hanging around in the background. And to cut a long story short, a guy by the name of Barry Pictou, great mate of mine since the early mid-80s, gave it a real shot in the arm because of the Gold Globe race. When we resurrected the Gold Globe race in 2018, Barry came on board as our media man, and through all of that, as a volunteer, Barry got in and started to really revitalise the whole thing, along with their committee and bits and pieces. And now it's taken a big jump, and so all of the records are now kept by the Cape Horners Association, or International Association of Cape Horners. In fact, I've got one here somewhere. There it is. Okay. I'm a Cape Horner, boom. Okay. This is the Burgee of the Cape Horners, and they've now got a Hall of Fame, which started a few years ago, and it's based here in Les Sables d'Olonne, thanks to Yannick Moreau, the mayor, and all the other people, and and the Sardalone's passion for solo sailing and so on. So that Cape Horn's Hall of Fame is based here. And in fact, I can show you something. Stand by. Don't go away. It's the weekend. It's Sunday. This will make you laugh. Okay, I'm the gatekeeper of something very special here. It's Sunday, right? We're just waffling on. Rightio. So this, see that? That's a bit of Cape Horn. This is the Cape Horner's memory stone, right? And I'm gatekeeper. I'm manager. I'm looking after it. I'm minding it for the Cape Horners. I don't want to drop it on the keyboard, but this is a whole story in itself. Oh, Jesus. So that's it. Okay, Skip Novak, who, if you're into Cape Horn and Antarctica and whitbread races and all sorts of things, is an amazing guy, and he's in the Cape Horners Hall of Fame. And so this huge rock here is called the Memory Stone, and it's from Cape Horn. It was a long story how it got to be in Skip's possession. He presented it to the Cape Horners because of the Cape Horn Hall of Fame. There's a little special yacht club, a very exclusive yacht club in the building, which is down by the Vendée Marina there. And it's all decked out with all of the stuff associated with solo sailing around the world, as well as now the Cape Horners Hall of Fame board. And that memory stone is normally kept in that club. Anyway, and I brought it back from England because it was over there for lunch. Long story. But anyway, so they keep the record. To answer the question, they've got all the records there. You can get onto their website and you'll see there's a tab there. And it tells you all about the solo sailors, whether they did a solo non-stop or whether it was a solo circumnavigation with a stop via Cape Horn. It also lists all of the crew members of any of the whitbread races and Volvo races and all those other ones that have also sailed around Cape Horn. So some fascinating statistics there. And as a by the way, I was at one stage, I was number 100 around the world in 1990, solo with stops. So I was a solo with stop sailor, and you'll see them all there. The names are there, the names of the boats. It's a good record. Boy, I digress, but it is Sunday, so that's kind of funny. Anyway, yes. So now I've lost my place. So if you ever go to that little special club in the Sardalone, you can actually touch a bit of Cape Horn. It's very cool, and it was pretty good of Skip to hand up this sort of iconic piece that he secured many, many, many years ago. So a lot of what you're talking about applies to your entire life experience. Well, I'm not sure which you're referring to, John, but yeah, it's I've been very lucky. I'm still kicking, still healthy. I'm trying to think now because we just got another guy, and I digress, but it is Sunday, okay? We've had another entrant that looked like coming in. He's going to be 80 when he does the GGR. I'm a young boy compared to that. And I'm thinking, I'm so busy with all these events, but I want to do something again. I'm getting the itch, I've got to tell you. And I'm not sure what I can do or what I want to do yet. But I'm always inspired when you see people that are at 80 still taking on serious stuff, because the GGR is quite serious. It's as serious as it gets. And in fact, I can tell you something that's a bit of a secret, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. Boy, I'm really getting into stuff here now. I've done a comparison between the GGR and another well-known yacht race, solo race, non-stop around the world, because everyone makes all sorts of claims about their events. And so I defined a solo circumnavigation into 25 features, like psychological challenge, physical challenge, all these different aspects. And then I said, okay, if we say psychological challenge, which one's the biggest psychological challenge? Event A, event B, or event C? And I've gone through the whole lot, and boy, the answer at the end of the day is really quite interesting, because it's very hard to compare any of the races, but when people make impressive claims, you want to try and justify that sometimes. But anyway, that's for later. Okay, but thank you, John. Yeah, life's experiences where comments come from, I suppose. Rathlin, it would be really nice to if some benefactor could help her out. Oh yeah, this is Pila. Yeah, sure to be some excellent publicity and for whoever stepped up for sure. Where is a lotto when you want it? Yeah, chasing the money is part of the challenge. That's always the case. I think everyone gets there. In fact, it was really interesting, and I'm digressing again, but Pip Hare is running a webinar about her experiences in the Vendée race and losing her mast and all this, that, and the other. Now, for the first time in a long time, it's going to cost you £18 to get a ticket to go and listen into the webinar, and that says something, because when people, you tend to think when the solo sailors get all this money with sponsorships, that they're rolling in money, that they've got money coming out of their ears and they're all living the flash life and stuff. Usually, I don't see that. On some of the big French rock stars, yes, but a lot of other people, they might be spending a lot of money because it costs a lot of money to do their boat, this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, they've still got to try and earn money, which is very interesting. Lucas, hey Don, love your tracker updates. Are you planning any new big adventures for yourself and Jane? Cheers. That's just what I was talking about. No. The short story is no, but boy, the voices are talking and I don't know what's going to happen. But anyway, so no new big adventures. We're really busy with the Transat for now, and then we go straight into the MGR. We're focused on that. It's not a business where we make money, but it's core business. So core business for us is the GGR, the OGR, and the MGR. They're really we see everyone having a good time with that, and we just got to try and somehow make it pay for itself. It's always a challenge, but that's it. And yes, I would love to be out there doing something, but we'll have a bit of fun in Fiji with we've got another boat there. We'll live on board and run everything from there for about 5 months or something this year, which will be fun. So let's wait and see. Remind folks they can see the vision of the Bounty adventure. Oh yeah, some of the Bounty stuff is on. All our videos are linked on from the McIntyreadventure.com website. If you get on there, you'll see a lot of the writing that I did. I used to write magazines for years. All those stories are there, and all the different adventures that I've done are linked there. And there's the YouTube channel there. You can get on that and you can do the bits. So hours of fun if you've got a rainy Sunday afternoon. Okay, that's no worries. Thank you. Okay, cool. The boat speed that comes up on the tracker, is that a single speed at a point in time, or is it an average speed over time period? Yeah, it's an average speed over 4 hours. So it's the average speed over the time between the previous position break. Okay, so at the moment the track is running 4 hourly, so it's average speed over 4 hours. The same with the 24 hours, so it's not noon to noon 24 hours and then just measures it and talks about that. It's actually stepping back 24 hours to give you the average speed. So that'll change if in the next 4 hours their speed drops back dramatically. Their 24-hour run is including that 4-hour run. Jonathan, thanks again, Don, for your dedication. Thank you. Cheers so much. Yep, Jane's in there making sure I've got pressing the right buttons. Thank you. That looks heavy. Yeah, it is heavy. Piece of Cape Horn, jeepers. And I got it because I was at the lunch in England with the Cape Horners, and I had the car, so I've driven it back, and I'm just waiting to put it back in the club here. So that's why it's at home here. How much of a factor is body weight on these boats in regard to balance, trim, lee, weather helm, etc.? Are sailors having to make adjustments when changing their body location on the boat? Generally, no. Okay, you can set the boat up and have your wind vane steering, and if you're moving around the boat, it's sort of okay, right? You don't have to make continuous adjustments. But as an example, on my experience with Tracker, a couple of things that are very obvious. Sometimes I had the South Atlantic wind vane, which is a survey pendulum system. The pendulum rudder is in the water and it turns and it pulls ropes, which moves the tiller. Okay, and sometimes with the sea, it's right, not on the edge, but sort of on the edge, and it's steering okay. So I'd be down below, and I could feel the rudder, the survey pendulum would be right out, the tiller's max across, and the boat's just holding on the edge. The apparent wind's increasing, it's just going, it's trying to come back. The rudder is turned, it's trying to come back, and it's not quite going, right? and it'd be nighttime. I said, geez, I don't want to go outside and do all that. So I'd just take a dive over the other side of the boat, right, to give it another balance point, and it'd be just enough to start to turn the boat around, right? And so you adjusting your weight can help the steering. Okay, so I can remember doing that quite often. Not every day and every, but I did it a lot over the period of 30 days. The other one is if you're on the bow, you absolutely know when you're on the bow and the boat's down, it's steering kind of wonky, kind of funny, and that. So you don't want to be up on the bow any longer than you have to. And if I'm having it dump off the back of the boat, I never used to use a bucket. I didn't use a bucket at all on Trekker. I used a pee bottle, but never a bucket. I just dump off the leeward quarter, and you have to be careful because you, depending on the pressure on the boat with the sail area up and the wind strength and stuff like that, when you're hanging out on the quarter, it could sometimes make the boat want to round up. You'd be right in the middle of it, and things would be going off, but day to day living on the boat, it's not so critical. You just get on with it, and that's how it goes. So that's cool. Yeah, that's cool, Mike. Well, you did just do a nice sail from Tahiti to Fiji. Oh yeah, that was really nice. That was cool. Yeah, it was good fun. So. Or was it Tonga? No, it was Tahiti. It was Papeete to Fiji. It was a couple of thousand miles, and I think we did it in, I don't know. I forget now. Quicker than we thought. It's a good boat. I forget now. We thought I said allow 20 days. Yeah, we did it I forget. How long did we take, Ting Ting? How long did we take to get from Tahiti to Fiji? No, I didn't know either. It was fun. It was quick. Great boat. It's a Beneteau 423. Really nice boat. Okay. Nadal has lots of money. Yeah. One, thanks, Guy. Looks like you're reading comments on Facebook and YouTube. Do you have a combined comments? Yes, we do. And I didn't know this, and I wonder where they changed it. Jane said, no, it's always been there. But I never used to be able to get the YouTube comments. But not only do I get YouTube comments, I can tell when that's coming from YouTube and when it's from Facebook. Has a little picture and thing. So Warren, I know you're on YouTube, and I can answer them real time live. So it's quite cool. And in fact, we used to do Q&A sessions where I'd put a question up, and people would put their questions in the comments, and once a week I'd come up and we'd have a live like this, and all I would do was answer the questions. But now it's all turning into being after the trackers, that we get the questions and I just keep answering them. As long as there's questions there, I'll just answer them. So, but I may still try to do one just with questions, because the trade-off here is that a lot of people might be interested in these Q&As, but they don't realize, or they might not want to be sitting there for 15 minutes doing the tracker before they get there. So there's a plus and minus in each situation. But yep, I can absolutely see YouTube questions. So thanks, Wayne. Wayne, is it possible to enter the next Transat but still have no 580 built yet? Oh yeah, we previously, when the MGR came up, we had a restriction that we wouldn't let anyone enter the MGR unless they already had a boat underway to build. Because in the beginning, I said, oh, well, they've got 30 places, and people saying, oh, there's not enough places, you're going to have 50, 60 boats, I won't get a spot. And so I said, well, don't stress, because you got to buy a boat or you got to build a boat. But now, and it's exactly what I said. I used to say back then, 4 years ago, so look, don't worry. There'll be all these people say they're going to do they're going to do this, they're going to do that, and they won't, because there's a lot involved. It's very hard to get to the start line. And that's exactly what happened. So here we are, we've got 15 boats, which is fantastic. It's a bigger fleet than what I thought there for a while. So we've got a great bunch of sailors. So that we've now that everyone can see what happens, we've capped the fleet. There will only be 20 starters in the next MGR, and the same for the Transat race. Now, the Transat race, this one's a big one because most of them are MGR entrants, right? But the next one, in 2 years' time, they're not MGR entrants, they're just Transat sailors. So, if we ended up with 20 boats, I'll be very impressed. Now, I got no idea how many, because there are a lot more people watching, a lot more people have heard about it, and so on. But yes, you can. We'll have the notice of race up for the next Transat I forget when I said we'd do it. It might. I'll have to have a look, but it at the latest it'll be after they start from Panama. Okay, but I think at the latest it'll be after, by the end of March, it'll be out there. So yes, you can enter. But you'll need to have a boat, right? So either building a boat or have bought a boat. We won't take entries from someone who doesn't have a boat or is not building a boat. In other words, just if you're worried about that, just sort your boat out first. So you either buy a set of plans and start building. You've got to have your boat building, not just buy the plans, or have bought a boat. And there will be a difference in entry fee. Those that bought their boats will pay a higher entry fee than those that are building their boats, because we'll always support the builders. Not that we're prejudiced against people buy boats, but it's just that the builders have made a huge effort to get there, and so we tend to partially support them. Okay, I'm glad you're enjoying it, Robin. I think, did I miss one there? I might have missed a question. So is it possible? Okay, Warren. Wow, I'm actually watching it on both. Okay, that's clever. Okay, so yes, Christine, on Facebook we do not see any of the YouTube comments. No, you can't, but I can. It's the program here. I sure am enjoying this Sunday. Good on you, Robin. Thanks. This format is good. Tracker update followed by some interactive Q&A. Yeah, cool. Works for me as well. So, but it's an hour. Jeepers. Okay, that's cool. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow. It's all very, very cool indeed. See you later.
Witness history in the making. The McIntyre Mini Globe Race 2025. Small boat, huge adventure.